Welcome to Movie Goons with the White Hotep and Troy Heesh, host of Primitive State Podcast.
Hell yeah. Yeah, we watched Independence Day for today's episode, and it's pretty awesome. It's actually a way better movie than I remember it.
Yeah, it holds up, and it looks beautiful while holding up.
It does, and even like some of the CG they use isn't like out of place, and it's like made in like 1996, I think. Like it's kind of crazy how well it's held up. And like one of the things that like really helps it is that like I think they use miniatures a lot instead of like just making like CGI ships and shit. So like when you see like a UFO like going over like across like a camera's focus, like kind of like how you would see in like Star Wars or something, it has that same vibe that you would see in Star Wars, where it feels like this like imposing huge like ship is actually flying over, as opposed to like how we've talked about before about like Transformers, where it's like this weightless thing that's just like flying in the air.
Yeah, I really like the quality of it because the cameras allow it to look that much more alive. You consider Star Wars was shot when it was shot, even though maybe in Return of the Jedi came out, it didn't have too many scenes of miniatures. But like this, you know.
Yeah, and like even in scenes where like jets are blowing up because they're like flying into the sides of mountains, it actually looks like there's jets flying into the sides of a mountain, as opposed to like, I don't know, there's some disconnect versus what I saw today in Independence Day and what I see in movies that are made today. Because there is like there's too much touch up, I think, when it comes to like explosions and things like that today, where it doesn't seem real in comparison to like Independence Day for some reason.
Yeah, like hyper realism, like the video games do.
Yeah.
But the arrival of the aliens was like, I don't know, it was funny for me for the sake of the reactions of the people. And like one of the topics we discussed before we picked this film was whether it was an action movie being a satire occasionally, or was an intentional satire while being an action movie as well. And
yeah, it does have like a balance. Yeah, you're right. Where it's like it just it kind of feels like it's doing a wink and a nod to like 50s UFO movies, but then it's also like definitely being its own thing.
Yeah, like they had the when the aliens show up in the beginning. So first, let's start with the introductions of the characters. So you come into the president, and he's like a family man, and he's chill, and he's Michael Douglas, and he's got swag. You know, I love.
Or Bill Pullman.
Or is it Bill Pullman?
Yeah.
Oh shit! Well, yeah, he got swag. I like him.
Yeah.
He's very relaxed and very family man-y about it, you know. And then like,
yeah. Oh no, sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, that Will Smith is like, you know, living in kind of the hood in L.A., talking shit. The first part of the movie, and he doesn't stop the whole movie. He just keeps talking it. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah, and I thought he was so I had like the movie going on, and I was watching it, but I was also like not completely focused. Because I saw he was a cop, right? Like in the very beginning of the film, he had like a badge and shit. But then like does he get like enlisted by a government organization or something?
I thought he was an Air Force officer.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay.
Yeah.
Because I just saw him throw a badge on, like you would see like a cop throw over their neck or something like that. And I was like, well, that's kind of weird because I don't know if I've ever seen that for like Air Force or something.
I don't know if I have either, but I know that I'm pretty sure that's what he was, because he was wearing fatigues at home and shit, you know.
That's right. Yeah, and he would have like all like the Air Force meetings and shit like that.
Yeah. He did a lot of they really wanted to sell the idea this guy's the pilot. And the best part is he's like the only black pilot, so he stands out even more and is more badass. You know?
There was a moment I don't think I ever connected as a kid where like towards the end when he's like about to take a jet, one of the black soldiers like pulls his gun on him. He's just like, "You really want to shoot me?" And I didn't really connect it as it being like a black thing. Like there was nothing that really like I don't know. Like as a kid, I never saw it like that. But now I'm like, oh, it's like he's black, so like it's one of those things maybe.
Yeah. It's contributing to a statistic murder. It's not.
Yeah, exactly. You know, this black
doesn't
on
make
black
us
crime.
look good. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't make us look good, bro. Don't do that, please. But yeah, and then like as he leaves, he gives his kid firecrackers.
Yeah, that's awesome.
He's just like yeah, it's like, yeah, man, life was so much simpler.
It's actually kind of crazy how fast paced this is for like a 2.5 hour movie. At the same time, it's not like shit. Like there's not like garbage being thrown at the screen. Like everything seems kind of thought out. Like there's quite a bit of care put to it. Like it's actually a legitimately great movie, which I always thought of it as just like almost like the beginning of like these shitty disaster movies. But then I forget that like no, the beginning of it was good.
I think it's the greatest American action movie.
It might be. Like it might be. I would have to really think on that one, but yeah, it's definitely up there for me. Like it's really good, entertaining. And it has such a like a variety of like such a huge ensemble of a cast. It's kind of insane how well they balanced all of it and gave everyone like a decent like emotional arc throughout the story. It's kind of cool.
None of the characters had too much time spent on them, and they all had easily relatable, non-harmful, I would argue, non-harmful stereotypical qualities, which made them easier to comprehend as a viewer.
Yeah, and the shitty thing is, and I'm only saying, I guess it's like hard to say this because I don't know exactly how this would go down, but I could see it going down today. Where if that movie was made today, they'd be like too black, too Jewish, too gay, too whatever, and it's just like it would just ruin it and be so annoying.
Like when you're telling a story that quickly, those things have utility. It's about discretional usage, not viewing it as a constant, you know?
Right.
And like considering this guy made Godzilla 98 and it was terrible.
Jeez. Yeah.
But it was also it turned me on to the professional and stuff because I was like, yo, Jean Reno is badass. And he
Yeah.
was later in Onimusha 3. I was like, yo, this is like he's got something. He's got something to it. It's just that movie was bad.
There is something about him as a filmmaker where I don't know if it's one of those things where it's like you can't let him maybe fuck with the script too much and just like give him a really good script and he can do like a great action movie. But sometimes I think there was a point where like he became the guy who was making all of these disaster movies. So they were kind of just like, dude, you go ahead and you do whatever you want with the script. You go ahead and do whatever you want with this thing. And then I think that may have been a misstep. But I'm also just kind of like that's just conjecture.
I mean, it makes sense though, considering the era that he was developed in. Like his biggest hits, he didn't write, right?
Yeah.
And then he had like very masterful displays in those hits of practical effects because the story wasn't hampered down by them. You know, it wasn't about
Yeah.
building up to the set piece, and like he just managed the set piece part.
Well, and that's the craziest part about like this movie in particular. It's like so it's 2.5 hours long, and literally 20 minutes by like minute 21, I think is what I saw. You see the Earth start to shake, and you see like these gigantic alien ships coming into frame, and it's like holy shit, dude! There's still 2 hours of this movie. Like that is really it's kind of almost like unheard of when you look at movies today. There's so much exposition that they want to throw at you that they don't even want to throw you into a conflict and just let you sit in it for a while. And that's what they did really well in this movie.
I agree. It was very well paced, and the writing and the dialogue helped it to move along expeditiously while also being communicative enough that you didn't lose the thread.
Yeah, and it's like it's almost like a sense that got lost or something along the way. It's weird.
I argue there's a thing called hyperliteralism now in modern culture where there's so many words and like people think they need more words than they do because all the words mean less because they're used too often. But I don't know if that applies.
Yeah, kind of. So what you're saying is like there's almost too little
Substance.
Too little substance because the people they maybe think that the people are too stupid to understand. Like if you just let it
So
go.
they overqualify things. And
Yeah.
they dilute the meaning of every one of those qualifications.
You'll see that in like especially like later Marvel movies a lot where they're just like, oh, that's the ball thing. And you're like, yeah, we know it's the fucking ball thing. Like this is the thing that you guys keep talking about like for 6 movies. Like it's just so retarded. Like, but I think that is one of those things where they're just like, oh no, people are like increasingly more retarded because they're on their screens all the time now.
Yeah, I think part of it is the polarization of the economic classes where writers are clearly insulated from the experiences of other people, and so the idea of what's relatable to them isn't relatable to others. Something to that extent, but I ain't gonna go on about it, you know. But Jeff Goldblum's character
Yeah.
is very well played and very the whole time I kept thinking about the South Park reference where he's talking he connects like a shoestring to like a solution to something to do with aliens.
And what's kind of cool about Jeff Goldblum's character is like this might be one of the few examples that like kind of started this whole thing where it's like he's a nerd, but he's also like a cool nerd. Like you wouldn't say that like he was like this dork or something. He's actually pretty cool. And I think that kind of started, maybe not started, but like was a part of the beginning of that whole trend.
And he has a redemption arc, and it's like a love redemption arc, which is like not common for a nerd. Yeah. So it's like not only did he get the bad bitch first, now he's getting her back because he's that badass.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then like so basically they talk about how like the main purpose of the aliens coming there, what, was just to start war and to destroy the planet, or what?
Yeah, but they sent the welcome wagon up. They were like, "Hi guys, how you doing? Let's blink some lights at you."
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And they didn't know. Yeah, and then the aliens zap them, and they're like, "Oh shit, we gotta fight the aliens!" And they zap all the big cities on Earth. That's right. The 20-minute section. Yeah, where all the cities explode, and it looks like a prototype of The Day After Tomorrow in the city.
Yeah. And so, were any of the buildings that blew up, like, did they show any buildings that blew up in New York, and were any of them like 9/11 related?
I didn't see any of that. Yeah, it's not like they zapped the Statue of Liberty. It's like, for what it is, Roland Emmerich's a patriotic filmmaker to an extent. Yeah, but
he wanted to save the finale for the White House.
Yes, exactly, and it's ironic. He later directed White House Down. You know what I mean? It's like, he's right. Like, I looked at his filmography. I pulled it up, and like before I go on about these buildings that got blown up, let me say he's directed a lot of films where the White House gets blown up.
Yeah, I've kind of noticed that. Did he also aliens? He did that one with Nicolas Cage called Knowing or something, right?
Yeah, I think so. Let me check.
Yeah, I think that one. I think I want to say there's a time travel element to that one, but I don't really remember. Fuck, I need to go. I should watch all of his movies just to see like what's good and what's terrible.
He did an old sci-fi movie, like one of his first ones, the Noah's Ark Principle.
Oh, is
the
that
title? Yeah, the title sounds cool. It's German.
Yeah, shit.
It'll be a little more avant-garde than the selection we have so far.
Yeah. Day After Tomorrow, Independence Day. It's just like tentpole names across the board.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But in LA, the building they zap, this is where I think there's aspects of satire. This is where it starts to build up for me. Is first when the aliens show up in New York, the guy on the news says, "Hey, it caused a few thousand fender benders in only seconds time." Because everyone's like, "Oh shit, it's an alien." They stop paying attention to driving, right? The ontological shock caused them to lose control of their automobile. And then in LA, you have all these people who are like hippies, like, "Save me, take me with you." And they have perfectly screen printed signs. Now, this is 1996. And I know 1996, not everyone had access to screen printing equipment at home. And I know it takes a little while to screen print a sign. And they didn't know the aliens were coming. So what's good? How'd they get those signs?
So you're thinking it's like a satirical commentary on humanity of like different regions.
There's aspects of it in there, and it's not just on humanity. It satirizes itself. That's what I mean. It's like even the people on the roof get blown up. Like they're the first people to get zapped.
And not only that, but look at like who the hero of the story is like he's like this hillbilly hick from the South who's a farmer. It's like the most stereotypical dude ever, like who fits that narrative,
There's no explanation for him showing up at the end.
Yeah, and like, okay, actually, you know what though? This is interesting. I never thought about this movie like this. You're right. It is like all of these characters are super leaned in stereotypes, all of them, because you have the super patriotic president, you have the super Jewy dad,
and he doesn't know what's going on either. He's like the real president. He's like willfully, or not willfully, but he's ignorant, but he's patriotic. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then you have like the overly black guy who's like the star of the show. You got the super gay guy. You got like all of these different like stereotypes that are just to the hilt. And it must have made it like super fun to write. Like that must have been like such a blast to just be like, oh yeah, I know exactly who this character is because he's just like 100 degrees of everything.
Dude, imagine being on set and you're one of those actors and you're just screwing around as that character when you're not being that, you're not in a scene.
Yeah.
Your people, all play. You know what I mean?
Will Smith's just like fucking cracking Bill Pullman across the jaw.
Exactly. Or he's like making fun of people, talking shit on them. Like the amount of bits they must have had up just for having fun with that.
And the fact all of this gets ruined with the second movie, which I haven't seen, but the fact Will Smith's not in it, that's huge marks against it. I don't even understand why you're making it.
He's old and greedy. about
Is that
it.
what is that why he wasn't in it?
No, I mean, like, not Will Smith. I imagine that's something to do with his cost. But what I'm also saying is Roland Emmerich is old and greedy. He's not a good filmmaker anymore, and he's, he lost the thread, kind of. So
Yeah, I mean, if you want, we could watch that one too at some point. Like,
at some
kind
point.
yeah, I'm kind of done with it right now. But like, yeah, at some point we should watch that. The thing about it is, like, I didn't hear anything about it. I remember people being like, it's boring, and I'm like, well,
Mhm.
that right there is crazy because the first movie is literally the antithesis of boredom.
I mean, it's CG. Yeah, that's a huge part of it too, I
Yeah,
think.
that might be right. Yeah,
And like the acting is probably like, you think about the production of it when all the money. This is another part of films I think that have poor CG, or not poor CG, a side effect of CG. When you have all the budget go into special effects, your actors are lesser. You know?
oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like it's just like if you got all the players, you got I think Bill Pullman was in it even, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, so it's like, yeah, Bill Pullman, you got Jeff Goldblum back, you got everyone back, and then it's just like the star that made Independence Day what it was, and then like the movie that made him who he was wasn't in the sequel, and it's like you guys at that point should have just been like, we'll just make a different movie and use aspects of the script or something.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it should have been like a Battlefield Earth or kind of thing.
Yeah,
At least
dude.
that's bad enough to watch. Yeah, eventually we'll get
Yeah,
to
we
it.
got to get to Battlefield Earth for
That
sure.
shit,
Man,
dude.
I haven't. I watched it like probably a couple years after it came out, and I haven't seen it since. I just remember like weird, like 45 or 90-degree angle shots, like these weird fucking like strange angled shots that like almost made me sick.
Yeah, it's disorienting to watch. But
It
now
is, yeah,
the scene I wanted to mention about the alien attack, right? So it's the aliens attack, and the president's talking about how many had to die, and it's
yeah,
like, could you have done anything about it if you knew?
yeah,
No.
yeah. That's
Like,
the thing. Maybe that's in the script where it's just like he could have, but he didn't have time, and now that they're here, we're fucked.
that's another part where I think it's like satire, where it's like he's asking this dumbass question, and he knows damn well he couldn't have done anything about it.
See, I want to see the movie where it's the president who like hears about this happening and then like he puts forward a plan where he could actually do something. It's just like a big dome around Earth.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, yeah, they got to break through the dome.
There's an old not an old medieval, like, tangent here, but it's like 1600s literature called Friar Bacon and Friar Bungay. And
Yeah.
Friar Bacon makes a deal with the devil to like be a very good alchemist, and he builds a brass wall around Britain to protect it from France.
Well,
Yeah, it's pretty wild. He sells his soul though. It's just another version of Faust. Good
that's
book
cool
though.
though. Yeah.
Dude, Faust stories are some of my favorites for reading. But
I don't think I've read any Faust.
dude, Faust, it's like it's a genre more or less. Just like any guy, so the Mephistopheles kind of thing, where any guy sells his soul to the devil,
Oh,
and
okay.
he
Yeah.
puts it
Like a Robert Johnson kind of deal.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's awesome, and it goes back to like 1300s, I think, even before that. But yeah,
Shit.
so they attack with the planes, right? And it's
Yeah.
dramatic, but it's like, again, it's very unrealistic, and in that way, it is satirical because it's like, okay, we're going to send 4 planes, we're going to shoot 8 missiles, and AMRAAMs are not big missiles. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? They even call them AMRAAMs, radar guided missiles, and it's like, dude, you
Yeah.
wouldn't
That's
respond like that. You would have
no,
standoff.
you're right.
You know what I mean? You have some
America,
standoff missile batteries. Like, come on,
dude,
bro.
America would have been like, we're going to nuke it out of the sky.
Yeah, from a distance. But
Yeah.
then it
Yeah.
leans into the patriotism thing because it's like, no, dude, these are hardened veterans and their friends are going to die. And now he's got a case for vengeance. You know,
Yeah.
it
Yeah,
really
dude.
builds itself up through not the, I wouldn't even say stereotypicality, the typicality of it in its genre, you know?
It is crazy and kind of funny that the guy who in the beginning of the movie, and maybe I'm wrong and I'm getting the context on this wrong, but
Mhm.
like at the beginning of the movie, I'm pretty sure when the old crazy farmer guy, when he takes off in like that crop duster, he thinks that he's at a different location than where he lands, and the person there's like, bro, you just did a circle or something. And that's the
Mhm.
dude who like got in a plane and like saved the world. It's kind of insane.
It is absolutely insane. Yeah, that gentleman knows how to operate a $100 million jet fighter. from flying a crop duster. It's just like, dude.
Because wasn't that scene? Maybe I'm blanking, but wasn't that scene like he lands? He's just like, "How did I get here?" And then the dude's just like, "You literally went in a circle."
Yeah. That's right. He's disoriented, but he's always been like, as much as that actor, what's his name?
Randy Quaid.
As much as Randy Quaid is a separate character in every film, he's always Uncle Eddie to me, and so it fits the character of Uncle Eddie to be like that.
It's the craziest thing that he's the brother of Dennis Quaid.
Really?
Yeah, dude. They're blood brothers.
Talk about fucking bonkers. Yeah, opposites and shit.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy. It actually works really well because it's like whatever role that like Dennis Quaid's going off for, Randy Quaid's not going for that role.
Mm-hmm. Of course not. No, he needs to be dignified. He needs to be, doing something important on set. But like the aliens. So this is another part where I think it's like satire. Right? The aliens raid the airfield. Do you remember this part? They're zapping all the jets and stuff.
Oh yeah.
The only thing that blew up, I watched it. I like rewinded it a few times. Was some crates and a barrel. That's it. None of the jets blew up. So I don't know if that's Department of Defense saying you can't show our jets getting blown up, because they certainly do later, right?
Yeah.
Or if it's just like, this is what we got. We're just gonna do it this way and be silly.
Is it ever explained why the aliens want to kill humanity and the Earth and everything?
Yeah, I think they want to take over. It's implied. They just say they can't live. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
When the alien wraps himself around the scientist, he's like, "You guys suck."
Yeah, and I wonder if it's in like a draft of a script, if that's like more explained, and they were just like, "Nah, we don't need that."
I gotta look that up. There's probably something out there about it.
Yeah, I'm curious because like it's almost motiveless unless they're like, "Hey, we just need everyone dead besides us," and if whatever, I guess that's a thing.
I mean, that also makes. I think that also pushes the case for satire, because it's like you don't need an enemy with a purpose to fight if you're all stereotypes. You just need an enemy to fight. It doesn't matter what the purpose is. The stereotypes will carry you. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Now that's interesting. That is something I never considered, where it's like, not only does the satirical stereotypes lend itself to the humans, it obviously would also lend itself to like the alien force. And what's the stereotype of these aliens? They are just coming to destroy humanity and destroy the Earth.
And that's 1950s movies too. Yeah. So it's in that way, it reads like a satire of those things in some direction.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, like they plug in modern stereotypes in the place of the straight white man stereotype of the past. I don't mean sexuality. I mean like
right.
Or I should say white straight man.
Yeah,
like get pronouns right. But yeah, the guy that plays Demiski too, I love him. What's his name? He's in Mad Mafia movies.
Oh fuck.
He's in Godfather. He's the consigliere.
That's right. Shit, dude, I'm blanking.
I just want to say he's great in that film. I mean, you know who I'm talking about if you've seen The Godfather.
Yeah.
He's a great actor in this movie too. Every movie he's in is great. I think he was in Goodfellas too. He's great in that too.
Dude, I wish I liked Goodfellas.
Oh, you don't?
I don't. I hate it. And, like, it's one of those things. I've tried to get into it so many times. I love Casino. Like, I love like a lot of Martin Scorsese movies. I just, for whatever reason, I can't get into Goodfellas.
Dude, Casino's like a horror movie to me.
I love it. Yeah, it's so good.
I watched it when I was little. I was like 10. I shouldn't have watched it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
dude, this is badass,
Yeah. Well, they take the dude in the back and like beat his hands with the shoe and shit.
Oh, that shit's great. They drill into his hand.
Oh, yeah.
They beat him with the hammer. I always thought that stuff was cool. It informed my young violence. I did stuff like that once in a while with people. So one time I watched Casino, right?
Yeah.
I was 10. I watched Casino. I had nightmares about Casino for like 3 days. You're gonna come get me. I'm paranoid. And then like 2 weeks later, this kid at school came at me, him and his brother, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I grabbed his brother's head and his head, and I knocked them together, and I pushed him to the corner on top of a play structure. And I told him, if you ever mess with me again, I'm gonna break your legs. And I threw one guy. I threw one of them down a slide, and I took the other one and I dangled him off the edge. He's like, if I push you, you're gonna break your legs. You don't ever touch me again. And it
That's
was like,
hilarious.
I was like, yeah, man, that's just like Casino. But it was also it was also traumatizing. Like,
You're like, all my life I wanted to be a good fella.
yeah, all my life I wanted to be Joe Pesci in Casino
Yeah, except for the
and
end.
be unhinged. Yeah, it was wild, dude. But I learned to be
Yeah.
violent from that movie.
Dude, you do learn a lot from that movie if you watch it early on. Like, there's so many life lessons in that movie.
Oh yeah, hubris, man, hubris. That's what I learned most of all. Never think you're better than you know your
Yeah.
worst.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
it's like, who was in that? Joe Bob Briggs is in Casino. That was kind of fucking cool.
yeah, I like that. Rest in
I never
peace.
even knew. Yeah, I had no idea who he was for the longest time, and then I was like, "Oh shit, he's in Casino."
I lived on the East Coast for a long time. My parents are from the East Coast, so I love like we watch mafia movies all the time, and he's in a bunch of
Oh
them.
yeah.
He's the pit boss, right? The big fat dude.
No, Joe Bob Briggs. He plays like that cowboy dude. He was like kind of
Oh,
young at that point. I think he was getting shit from like Robert De Niro, maybe.
yeah, he gets kicked out because he's got his feet up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I think that's him. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, he does like Joe Bob. Have you ever seen the Joe Bob Briggs drive-in or anything like that?
No, but I'm gonna check it out now.
Oh, dude, yeah, because you love horror movies. Like, you would definitely like it. Like, basically, it's like him doing double features of horror movies and doing like cowboy commentary, but it's like funny and cool.
I'll have to check it out. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so I don't know. Like, what else did this? Because Independence Day was kind of like this huge cultural moment in 1996, I think, or might have been 97.
Yeah, 96, 97, somewhere. I think it was
Yeah,
96, but
yeah, it might have been 96. Yeah, and I'm curious, like, outside of like it spawning like really good and really bad Will Smith movies, I'm trying to think about like what it really did as like
well,
a.
like it proved there was a new black dude who could do films well. And like you think about black people at that time in America, they're much farther along than they are now culturally in terms of being incepted by mainstream culture. And so it signified to them and to whites who were allies of black people, hey, we have made more progress because now we have a new shining star, kind of guy.
Actually, and you're right, it was kind of smart to have it be like Jeff Goldblum and Will Smith who like do most of the saving and shit in the movie, because it's like it does show where it's just like it is interesting to have like the black guy and the white guy
Not
being
just the
like
white guy, the Jewish guy.
the Jewish guy being like, intertwined into this fight against like the alien race that are trying to kill all of humanity. There is something to that that is cool.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a good point I hadn't thought of. Yeah, that does resonate with me, and it probably resonated with audiences then.
I think it did even when I was a kid, like subconsciously or something.
Yeah, I mean, you took that away from it, and you've maintained that observation since then, right?
I don't know if I had that. Here's the thing. I don't know if I connected it like that when I was
Mm.
a kid, but I'm connecting it like in the moment right now, thinking about it. And I'm like, I bet though that's why I felt that was cool. Like there was
Yeah,
something about those two characters being like together fighting the aliens that I thought was like there was something about it that was interesting. And I don't know if I necessarily was like, oh, it's because he's black, it's because he's white,
yeah.
but I do think that is a component for sure.
And perhaps that's why you thought of it and I didn't, right? Because that was your understanding of it before you thought of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe. Yeah.
So when they go to see the aliens after Will Smith drags the fucking edit that out, the alien uh, across the desert, which is an iconic scene because it's like it looks like Mad Max. You know what I mean? That he's dragging it across the desert. There's all those
Yeah.
huge RVs in the way, and then the guy asks him like, "Do you have a pass to get on here?" He just shows that alien. It
Yeah, no,
cuts
I
to
love that, dude. That's like one of my favorite scenes, actually. Like, it's just cool. Like the fact that he's getting shit because they just think he's like some no, and he's just like, "Bitch, I have a dead alien."
like, have you not seen what's going on? You think I might not have
Yeah,
something important for you if I showed up with all these people?
yeah, exactly.
It cuts to them in the bunker. It's David's father, and the president and his goons. And David's father says something that I think is a very good comment on government expense and UFO stuff a little bit. It says, "You don't suppose that's why they spend $30 in a hammer a toilet seat, do you?" While he's observing this, black budget alien containment facility.
Yeah,
He's like, "Oh yeah, government waste. Yeah, this is where it all goes." Okay. Like, yeah, think about that, dear viewer. Think about that.
yeah. Yeah, it's just I'm sure there's a few messages thrown in there. That's kind of interesting because if we're thinking about like how like maybe the CIA uses movies to like prepare people for like certain events like aliens and things like that. This one has a lot of interesting ideas. Like the whole idea of like maybe the alien that you see isn't like the thing that's controlling that like suit or whatever. Like there's because that's been kind of a theory about aliens that come in like spaceships that come to Earth and shit in like real life.
Yeah, they're cyborgs that have like an AI in them
Yeah, yeah.
instead of the soul. Yeah.
Another thing that like really tipped me off about shit that like could be just real was when the guy gets like how would you what's the connection? Like not hypnotic, but like there's like
Telepathic. Yeah, he gets the
yeah,
images.
yeah, he gets like a telepathic connection to the alien, and that that's from like stories that I've heard anyway. Like I think we might have talked about this on the last episode. I'm not entirely positive, but I was talking about that one documentary about like that contact in Brazil. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like so thousands of these people in Brazil see like this UFO flying overhead, like crash landing, and all of those people to this day like can account for it. Like you can just walk through the streets and talk to people about it. They'll tell you what they saw that night. And that same night, though, a guy apparently found an alien that had crashed, picked it up in his arms, ran to a hospital, and that alien telepathically told the doctor, if only humans knew what they were capable of, like truly capable of, or something. And then it like died and passed away. And so that reminded me of that, where I was like, maybe they're preparing us for the possibility of like the telepathic powers of these aliens.
Yeah, I think that I mean a lot of people who are contactees and claim to be contactees and have consistency with other before like criteria mentioned before they showed up or mentioned their story have said that that happens, and I wouldn't be surprised. You know, I do acupuncture sometimes, and when you do acupuncture, you go into a trance and you see stuff, and it's
Oh,
at
cool.
least I do. I see stuff.
Yeah, I've
It doesn't
heard that
talk to
where
me, yeah,
I've
but I
I,
see it.
I have heard that where it's like people who do like meditation, like certain like types of meditation, they almost are tripping like they're on shrooms or DMT, like because they're just so in a trance.
Yeah, it's out there. You know, it's
Yeah,
healing though for me, so I do it, but I don't try to interact with the force that's acting on me. I just let it
interesting.
act on me, you know, and it washes over me, and I feel better. I have less pain.
That's
But
cool.
another interesting incident with UFOs, I'll just mention, and then we'll come back to Independence Day. The Ariel School UFO incident. You ever heard of this one?
No,
It was in Zimbabwe. 62 pupils at the school called the Ariel School were the ages between 6 and 12, right? And
yeah,
so hanging outside playing tiddlywinks or whatever you play in Zimbabwe.
yeah.
And this silver craft descends onto the field near their school. And a few creatures come out of it dressed in all black, and they telepathically told them, "You need to save the environment." And they all started crying,
Whoa.
right? Now, later, there was a documentary made, I think it was in 2021. There are other documentaries informally made. I'd have to find the exact name, and I won't look for it now, about this incident. And all of those girls remember exactly the same thing.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Yeah,
they
so
all
they're all
remember
their
the message.
stories.
They all remember the message the same way.
Damn, dude.
And it's
Yeah,
like,
see, that's how it is with the Brazil thing too, where it's like there's so many accounts from people that you just talk to on the streets that match up identically with everyone, and it's like Jesus Christ. I mean, something happened.
exactly. And it's not to say that we know, but it is to say that we don't know and we shouldn't assume it didn't.
Yeah,
You know, and that's like I think an area of skepticism that a lot of people can't access because they don't know how to think in a non-binary pattern. You know,
and
it's
like
either real or not. And it's
and
like,
like when it comes to like the CIA and like FBI documents that have been released, like I
mhm.
mean, those are as like official as it can get, right?
Yeah, I mean, beside witness testimony and like the video evidence, I mean, I don't know, video evidence is equal in some ways. If you have one of the four observables, if you have all four of them, then it's definitely there, right?
And so like, do you remember like when Mexico was just like, here's our grand reveal of our 3 tiny aliens?
It's still ongoing. They keep on finding new ones, and
So is
there's
that
no,
still that people? So that's like legit, like not maybe like 100% legit, like everyone knows it's legit, but is that being looked at more as being legitimate than like
they're inviting all kinds of scholars all the way from Europe and the Americas to come look at it and verify what's going on. And they're peer reviewing a paper now, and it should come out eventually. And no one pays attention to it. And there was a psyop where this guy tried to go around with another little body, and he dressed it up, and it was not like these. It wasn't contorted. It didn't have a radio. Like you couldn't see layers in it, that kind of stuff. But it's also like we don't know, right?
So it's definitely not like cake.
No, it's definitely not
Okay.
cake or paper mache or a llama skull or whatever.
Okay, yeah, because I've seen that meme where people were just cutting into those things and it was just like chocolate cake. I was like, fuck.
But I wonder because I looked into him and he claimed like someone he associates with, and I think this is how these things work. Uh, Maybe to discredit it, maybe it's nonsense. I don't know. He said I was attacked by a mantis alien, and I found the website where he posted all the pictures and footage from the supposed tomb raid, right?
Yeah.
And it looks like a very bad prosthetic giant mantis. It's nonsense.
Yeah, I hate that shit. Where it's
Yeah,
like they'll try to get you with something and it's just so clearly obviously fake.
but it was thrown in with the other stuff in the bodies that have been displayed and are real. And so
Oh,
not real, but like are physically real. I don't know what they are, right? Can't say if they're real or not, but like, and that way I have to say it's like it sounds like a hit job, but I don't know.
maybe it's
You
like the
know?
moon landing where it's just like some of this is real. Some
Yeah,
of
that's
this
what I
we
mean.
kind of had to pad.
It supports a space where it's like okay, now some people will fall off, and not a critical mass won't believe it because there's these glaring holes,
Yeah.
and that's how psyops work. But I'm saying that as someone who's read about them and bothers to know about it for no good reason, you know.
Well, I get it though. Like, I mean, it's better to be able to recognize it than not, I guess.
Yeah, you want to be an informed consumer of media, right?
Yeah.
When it's back to Independence Day then, when,
Yeah.
when the chief scientist shows up and he greets the president. This man looks like he's a grimy goon cave goblin. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
dude. It's crazy to me because it's like so it's the actor who plays Data, who I forget his name.
I
And
did.
yeah, and it's just funny to me because it's like it almost feels like he was just like, oh, finally, I get this break of playing like this emotionless android. I get to play this like freak nerd who's like a complete fucking weirdo. So it is kind of fun, I guess. Like it's just a different version of what you would normally see from him.
Then he goes to open up the alien, he gets murked, but he gets the tentacles wrapped around his throat. You think he liked that?
Yeah,
Freaky looking. He had
yeah,
like
probably.
he had like the mullet, but like the skullet mullet, where he's bald on top.
Yeah,
And it went
yeah,
all the way down and it was greasy. And he turns to the president, he goes, you guys want to see him? And he's like excited to show him off, and it's like, see him. It's like, bro, you're looking at aliens. You gotta show him some respect. See him? You mean aliens? Shut up. Like God, the man
damn,
has no
dude.
respect. But
Yeah, maybe he's also like an interesting stereotype of like a nerdy scientist.
yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. He's exactly, and in that way, he's like satirizing that character. He's like, instead of being evil, he's just weird.
Yeah, yeah.
That's weird. It's so weird.
Although not the weirdest doctor I've seen in the last week. Like there was that Nazi doctor in Dead Alive.
True, that guy was. He had the weird eye patch on or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then the alien kills him, right? And the president's like, "We can make an alliance, or we can, come to an agreement." He's like, "No peace." And I was
Yeah.
just thinking, what if he like put up his fist and he was like, "No justice, no peace."
The entire movie becomes like a fucking message about Rodney King or something.
Exactly. Time. Yeah, yeah. Contextually.
But yeah, dude, I remember as a kid though that like no peace line. That something about that changed me. Like there was something about like when I heard that line, I was just like, fuck, that's like one of the craziest things I ever heard in a movie. I didn't know why.
Word.
Word, dude. Like there was something about like that scene where I was just like, damn, dude, like there was something that like really hit, like struck a chord more than I've ever seen in a movie for some reason. Granted, I was 7.
I mean, yeah. The president's mad patriotic. He's trying to do the right thing, and this alien's like, no, that ain't
No
happening.
peace. And I think when he said it, like, it sounded like there was no hope. I was like, oh shit, dude, like humanity's fucked.
The way he
Like,
says no too is longer than peace.
yeah.
Back on the satire business, they shoot him with the 9mm, and he goes
Yeah.
flying back 20 feet.
I know that. See, that might actually just be the anti-gun lobbies being like, we got to really make these handguns look fucking crazy. It's got to be like what Joe Biden said about like AR-15s, where it's like, the AR-15 shot the lung out of a kid once, and it's like, no, it didn't. That's crazy.
I accidentally discharged an AR-15 in the floor of my house, and now I have no foundation.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's basically a bazooka. Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I mean, how do you think they killed that many kids? Like in school shootings, it's got to be blowing stuff up.
Yeah, that shit was so funny. And what sucked about that to me was like, if people who have never like known about guns or like anything heard him say that, they just be like, "Oh my, like AR-15s must be like the deadliest gun on the planet." It's like,
let me introduce you to a G3. Okay, let's look at what legs and arms look like after that.
Or hell, I'll just show you what my AR-10 can do, like versus an AR-15.
Fair. So the nuke, the B-20 or the B-2 nuke missile scene is dope, but I wanted to relate to this on some UFO business because I saw a B-2 once.
Oh shit!
It flew over my school in the mountains, and I watched it on the horizon. I saw it fly, got over me, and I heard it for 10 seconds, and I didn't hear a single thing after that.
Whoa.
It's dead silent. And I saw
awesome.
that, I was like, man, they got something else going on in the military.
They definitely do, which makes me question the whole alien thing, kind of. But it's just hard to say. There's just too many stories that point to different conclusions, and
I think they have both their own electrogravitics and they have alien stuff. Because there's a bunch of scientists who die and go missing whenever they study electrogravitics.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
What do you think about the idea that aliens are like time travelers from the future?
Nah, I think it's like they're from a source intelligence and they're just here to watch us and make sure we don't kill each other.
Damn, that'd be crazy.
Some guy on Reddit was saying that the orbs are a global defense thing, and their whole job is to monitor like nukes and stop it from happening.
It's like the next level of NATO.
Yeah. It's a global defense grid. I think that's a fairly accurate way to look at it. I mean, there's a lot of stories too of nukes being messed with in orbit.
Yeah, there is, and like there's also stories of like them. They're not even like letting the nukes go. They're just like setting up like a test. Like they're just firing it up, and then like a craft will come over like an Air Force base or something like that, or a Navy ship, and they'll just like shut all the electricity down so they can't shoot anything off.
Or they'll shut off the warhead. They'll just like disable it. I've seen stories of that.
I remember hearing a story while, I mean, it's still going on, but like when the Russia-Ukraine war was like really kicking off, about like Putin had like trucks with nukes on them, like driving to some location to get ready for something, and then while that was happening, like these crafts came overhead and like just shut everything down. So I don't know.
They're afraid of nukes for a number of reasons, and I don't know what they are. Supposedly, they can mess with them. And
really?
Yeah, if you blow up a nuke near them, it can mess with them. But I don't know. I think it's also like it destroys the planet.
I think that's a big part of it, probably. Like if say like any of these races are like, well, this planet actually has a lot of resources that maybe the universe would need at some point. I could even see that being some sort of incentive.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's the thing that's like, what's interesting when you're going through like a real life Independence Day slowly versus like watching a 2.5 hour like fucking bullet train where it's just like you see like the slow drip, and the slow drip, it kind of makes me think that the motives of these aliens is much more intelligent and much more like complicated than like how we ever see in movies, like ever.
Yeah, I think it's like angels kind of, but they're not like angels. It's a reductive metaphor. It's just that they're here they're a steward. They were sent here by a source intelligence that made them, and their job is to watch us, make sure we hit certain milestones. There's parts of the theory of evolution they're gaps. They don't have stuff in them. So you can't explain that. That is an explanation. I don't know if it's sufficient for everyone's criteria, but it is for mine based on
And at a certain point, you just kind of have to accept what you think would be like the closest estimation of what the fuck's going on.
Yeah, and also I know I can't accept it 100%. I can't accept any of it 100% because I am a human. I'm ignorant. I'm fallible. Most I know is like 75.
Yeah, exactly. It's literally a matter of faith. Like it's just like
all of it is, even voting.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
But when Will Smith rescues his wife too, it's like he has the perfect dialogue for that. He's like, "Yeah, man, oh, you're late. You know I like to make an entrance."
Yeah, it is awesome. This really was the beginning of Will Smith having the coolest lines in movie history.
Did Wild Wild West come out after this? I think it was 98.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, I think 98. Yeah. Dude, I was so excited. I was like a big Wild Wild West TV show guy. Like even then, I would like catch reruns and shit like that on like TV Land. I was like, dude, they're making a movie out of that? That's awesome. Yeah. Such a piece of shit, dude. I was so upset.
I thought it was the spider is a good story, but everyone knows about the spider story from other podcasts.
Yeah, the fact that even made it into a movie is wild. Like just how hard it was to get that into one movie.
It's also in The Flash. The reference, the reference to Superman fighting a giant spider.
Yeah, the ice spider. Yeah.
I cracked up in the theater when I saw that.
Dude, I hate that the dude who plays the Flash ruined everything because I loved the Flash. I thought that was so good.
Such a good movie, dude. I was so surprised. And like people gave it mid reviews. It's like, dude.
No, it's such a good movie, and like it doesn't feel like a paint by numbers comic book movie. It feels almost like a comic book movie mixed with like Bill and Ted or something.
Exactly. There's qualities of many genres in it, and it's its own thing. I love it.
It's so good.
But the idea that the saving grace of the film comes from David's Jewish father nagging him too. That's like an embrace of the stereotypicality as like an affirmative force, which you don't see as much today.
And you're right, because there are points in the movie where David is like kind of wishy-washy about what the fuck he even wants to do. And then his dad's like, stop being a pussy. Like, you need to go up there and like help them. Yeah,
exactly. You need to be a man, David.
Yeah.
Have some chutzpah. Some shit. I mean, effectively, that's what he says multiple times. And then he's cold and he's like, I'll give them a computer virus. So then him and Will Smith get in a ship and they fly in and they give the ship a computer virus. But it's not enough or something like that. Or no, it gets him to drop the shields.
And then
the mothership's about to kill everybody. And who comes out of nowhere as the president's about to make his sacrifice? My man.
Yeah, dude.
Uncle Eddie. I imagine you wanted to wax philosophical about Uncle Eddie for a sec, because I know he had other things to say.
I do like Uncle Eddie. I do. I like that he's the guy he's the perfect character to save the world because he's done nothing else with his life. So it's actually amazing that he got this opportunity to finally do something where like his kids, or I don't know if it's his kids or his nieces and nephews, whatever it is. I think it's his kids, where his kids can like look up to him and be like, hey, he actually did something. He saved the entire world from like an alien species. Like, that's awesome. So it was kind of like perfectly written in a way. It's almost like a hero's journey in a way.
Yeah, but except there's no middle part.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, that's what I love about this movie. There is no middle part. Like, this movie is just like, we're starting it up and we're just going to go, and it's just all going to be like rising climax and exposition, or not exposition, just rising climax.
Second and third act.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So fucking cool. Honestly, this movie should probably be like studied by screenwriters. Like, I never think about it.
Yeah.
Because there are too many movies today where it's too exposition heavy. They're too trod down and like setting things up, and you're just like, dude, you don't have to. If the plot is that big, you don't need very much exposition if the plot is going to say everything for you.
Yeah, I agree. Especially when the plot is supported with practical effects that feel visceral.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so crazy. I'm trying to think, like, I'll admit this to the podcast. So like I missed out on like the last 20 minutes of the movie. I'm assuming the last 20 minutes of the movie is like the alien's dead, Glenn's dead, or Eddie, or I forgot, Uncle Eddie, whatever. He's dead. And then like Will Smith says something black, and then like there's like a fun moment there, and everyone's cool, and credits.
And I think the president is like, his wife dies or something, and he's like sad about it. And
Oh,
like,
damn.
this is something I wanted to get at too. You know, women seldom tell you that you were right.
Right.
So for the president's wife to tell him he was right, it took her to die. He says to him on the deathbed, "I should have come home when you asked me to." You know,
He's
and it's
like,
yeah.
"Thank you for admitting it. That I was
like,
right."
Thank you for admitting it. You should have done it. You don't. Smacks him.
Yeah, dude. But no, dude, it's great. It's such a good movie, and it's one of those things now. I think I might have to watch it once a year. I literally, I think this is the first time I watched it in like 15 or 20 years or something. It's been a long time.
Yeah, it's a very well made movie.
Yeah. It's damn near for me.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's good. We got almost a goddamn hour out of that.
Hell yeah, dude. This has been the Movie Goons, you know.
Okay. Yeah.
White Hotep and Troy Heesh host the Primitive State Podcast. Y'all be well.
You too. Yep. See you guys.
Later.